Hello and welcome to the Casual Coders Podcast. My name is Kyle and I'm here with Ian, Chandler, and Alex. And today, today I want to talk about boys. We did it.
We want to talk about this first.
Yeah, boys, we did it.
It was really just you and Ian.
Yeah, it really was.
I was there for some of it.
Were you?
Okay, so play by play, what happened?
All right, so Ian did this.
So I spent many a month of my young
Ian.
childhood career. Not really. I'd spent a lot of time though. Taking the garbage micro USB connector on the bottom of a PlayStation 4 controller and converting it to USB Type-C because Type-C is the one true connector, the godly connector, the only connector there sure will ever be in the future. And so, I spent a whole bunch of time reverse engineering boards, learned that Sony went full retard, and...
Can't say that.
Yes, I will.
That's the diet gamer word.
The diet gamer word.
Sony went full retard and decided that it would be a great idea to put 5 different USB breakout boards in their PlayStation 4 controller lineup. So I've spent the last, year and a half probably, reverse engineering all of the boards, and I now have schematics for all of them. There should be a GitHub repo that we can maybe link down below or wherever in said description to the repository, which contains the
thing.
GitHub files, the
Video.
PCBs, there's a video, there's probably a hackaday article that we should link on there, a whole bunch of pile of stuff.
Well, yeah, that's like the big news is that I emailed Hackaday about it because I thought it was a really cool hack and it seemed right up Hackaday's alley, and they ran it. It was on their main page of their website.
Which is so cool.
And
Hi, Hackaday subscribers.
Hello, Hackaday subscribers. We went from 19 subscribers to 80 in 24 hours.
We're at 85.
We're
It wasn't
85.
24 hours. They ran it on March 1st, and we were checking. We were around 75-ish March 3rd or 4th.
Okay, so we're up to 85, you said, though?
It could have gone up a little bit.
That's still a huge
jump, especially for a tiny creator with 2 videos on the main channel.
And our other channel, our other video got a few dozen extra views and a couple comments.
Yeah, that is correct, yeah.
Which is pretty hype in my opinion. Like, Chandler, what caused you to want to even send it to Hackaday? You just do it off?
I'm a huge fan of Hackaday. I actually read them all the time. I listen to their podcast every week, and the thought of one of us being on Hackaday was just a cool idea. I had actually emailed them about our first video as well, but I realized that since that was more of a software hack than a hardware hack, I didn't think that they didn't really care that much. Since they're more of a hardware...
it's not really our work either, if we're being totally honest.
Yeah, we
just
took
sort
a
of
lot of that work. Yeah, because they already had a file. All we had to do was...
Yeah, we just had to modify it to actually work.
Yeah, we just did modifications and stuff.
Yeah, but this was you actually did it from scratch. So this is way more up Hackaday's alley, as well as it's completely open source what you did. It's on GitHub. Anyone can download it and contribute to it. And we've already had a couple of people contribute and help us out.
That is correct. Yeah, we had, I don't remember what the guy's name is anymore.
And we've had a few dozen people join not a few dozen, but about a dozen people join our Discord. And if anyone's listening, feel free to join. We love talking to new people. We love collaborating with other nerds and engineers. So it was great. We want to build, that was part of the reason of Casual Coders. We wanted to build a community around just doing cool shit. That was literally it.
It's a good way to start. I don't know. It's awesome.
Yeah, I just was super, I was totally expecting us to just go about our lives, and randomly out of the blue, Chandler was like, guys, look, I happened to email them, and they totally responded. I'm like, what? I didn't even know you're doing this.
I was aware that Chandler was emailing, so maybe it hit you a little harder than it hit me.
Yeah,
well, I was discussing it with him, because I love Hackaday, and I wanted to be featured on it, so it's just
sorry,
cool.
Chandler, it's
I wasn't the one featured on it.
I couldn't believe it because I just searched the topic 3 days later, and that's what I saw. I saw the article on Hackaday's website, and then it said, "Thanks for Chandler L's tip."
I sort of wonder if that's the first thing that comes up anymore. Let's see.
Well, it was the 4th thing, but still, that's impressive.
Yeah, but I was accredited in the artitle for sending it to him, which I didn't mention.
You didn't mention it. You were
that I am one of the primary creators of this channel.
You scammed them. No, that's
But either way, thank you, Lewin, for responding to me and running our article. That gave us a little bit more traction. Hopefully, helps us out in the near future with more viewers.
I think it just gives us hype,
It does give us hype.
It does, and we got to build off that.
Now,
hype.
the YouTube statistics say that for every subscriber you have, roughly half of them will actually watch your video. That's the current statistic.
I think it's slightly lower than that, but it's probably around there.
It also depends on how you get your subscribers, because I know people who have paid for their subscribers, and they're like, I'll just bump this up, and then people will watch it, and then the YouTube algorithm pick it up, and then I'll get my normal subscribers.
And that never happens.
That never happens.
Yeah, the problem is they get the subscribers, and none of the subscribers watch, and then the YouTube algorithm goes, oh, this person doesn't actually make good videos because even their subscribers don't want to watch.
You realize just how much of an algorithm game this is.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, which luckily a friend of mine, who I'm not going to say his name, but if you're listening, you know who you are, might be helping us out with that because he's very good at social media relations. So hopefully...
We do need a social media manager.
Yes, we do. And that's what I'm hoping my friend will do. Where I'm going to talk... We need to have a meeting with him soon.
Apply
anyway,
internally.
So, is there anything else you guys want to say about that? Like, hey, welcome all the new people, by the way. If you're watching this and you're one of the new guys who joined the Discord or whatever.
There were no new subscribers to the podcast.
Yeah, we're not, but yet.
Yeah, maybe.
But yeah, if you're new and you heard about us through Hackaday, welcome. We look forward to collaborating with you.
Yes.
Get hype.
Get hype.
All right.
Get hype. Upgrade your PS4
You just wanted to start with that?
Yeah, I just want to start with that. Okay.
Oh, should we announce the store or not?
Yeah, go for it. Go for it.
All
right, yeah. So we placed a big order for a whole pile of different electronic components so that we can launch a Tindy store to actually sell these little boards out to people. Because they are sort of expensive to make. I think to make 10 of them, it cost me like $40, but it's for 1 or 10, it's $40 either way. Right. You sort of have to buy in bulk.
Are you going to be selling these as kits or are you going to be selling these as pre-assembled boards?
I was just going pre-assembled boards. If you want a kit, you can,
save a couple bucks.
Send us an email or whatever. Make it yourself. I don't know. But for the most part, people probably just want it pre-assembled anyway.
Yeah.
Especially since I'm already ordering all the parts. It doesn't really make sense to order the parts and then just send out a kit. It's, a couple minutes.
That's a common thing people do, though. Like, that's a common thing.
Sure, it's a selling thing. And possibly, who knows? Maybe someone's like, hey, can you do a kit? Then sure, whatever. Or we could do that individually on a case-by-case basis. It doesn't really make a huge difference to me one way or the other.
One thing I thought was super interesting is that some people were actually looking at it from hey, my charging port is broken. I can use this to upgrade to USB-C at the same time as fixing my charging port.
I jumped on a Discord call with my friend the other evening, and he reverse engineered 030 with me. So I have the schematic in that all ready to go, and I'll spin up a PCB eventually.
Was his broken?
I spent so many hours in KiCad yesterday. But yeah, all of his PS4 controllers are broken. They have worn out charging ports, whatever, because micro USB sort of is.
Oh, micro USB is hot garbage. I hate it.
It's better than mini.
It is better. Well, the mini lasts longer.
Mini USB doesn't.
It doesn't have those stupid little wings on them that break off.
Mini USB has the spring contacts inside of it, whereas micro USB has the spring contacts inside the inside the cable. Sorry. So with a micro USB or a USB-C system, the cable is the replaceable wearing part. However, with mini USB, the actual USB connector is the wearing part. The USB connector wears down over time.
All right,
and I think that's actually true of USB-A, but A is such a bigger, beefier connector.
I've never had an issue with an A port
I've never had an issue with an A port, yeah.
I mean, they're rated for a certain amount of mating frequency.
Yeah, they're rated for about 10,000.
Yeah.
They're rated for about 10,000 cycles, if I'm not mistaken.
Whereas USB-C is...
also 10,000.
Interesting.
Mini is, I think, 5,000 or less.
Yeah, but if the wear component is the cable itself, you
just replace the cable.
Replace the cable.
My issue is not having the cable. So I prefer USB-C just for that reason.
I mean, yeah, I want to standardize all the cables. So give me everything in
I switched to a PS5 controller for that reason, because it already had USB-C.
Well, you should have modified your PlayStation 4
at the time, you didn't have this project done.
And now you can have 2 controllers.
Yeah, I guess so. All right, so we're going to shift topics. The main point of this episode, I wanted to be more about lifestyle, developer lifestyle.
Mm-hmm. This is the developer lifestyle. Get your project picked up. Get it out on GitHub,
Yeah, and get someone to fund it. Startup style, right?
Yeah.
Depends.
But I wanted to talk about work from home and has your habits differ depending on if you work from home or work for the office. And there's one other topic that it's about habits, but I'll save that till later because it's very fun and...
I'm sure your dress habits change.
Hit me with the first question again.
Do your habits, when you work from home or when you work from the office, do your habits differ?
Wildly.
Obviously.
Wildly.
Yes. Yeah.
But how wildly are we talking? Are we talking I slack off more, or I don't know. What do you consider wildly? I will agree that my work from home flow and when I worked in an office flow are definitely 2 different things. And even now, whenever I go to the co-working space and I do work, and then I do work at home, it's also 2 very different things. But what would you say would be your main primary differences in your behavior if you can pinpoint one?
Does it have to be one or can it be multiple?
Multiple, yeah. Just if you can pinpoint stuff, what would it be?
Yeah, I guess firstly, what I actually do changes a little bit just because I can be way more focused at home. Because with my background at home, I live with my dad at the moment, and he goes to work every day. So me being at home, I'm totally alone, and as a result, I can just sit down and focus, and then I'll have my meetings throughout the day, and that'll I can do my meeting stuff. And the cool thing about being uninterrupted for long periods of time is like there's a concept in the developer world of like deep work, to where if you're going into something and you're in an algorithm, oftentimes it'll like take sections of your mind and you'll like be keeping track of certain things and going through and developing this algorithm in your head of like how this thing works. And then all it takes is for someone to go, "Hey, how was your weekend last week?" to go from like, you want to answer and be receptive. Like you're totally cool with them asking that. But then to answer that, like all of that RAM is just gone, like you have your own brain RAM, it's gone.
Yep.
Yeah.
I get that. Yeah.
I have the opposite problem to you where at home is chaos. There's 2 dogs and there's multiple people who live with me in my current living situation. It is chaos. So when I'm like, the best time for me to work is when I'm at my own home workstation, but nobody's home and the dogs are being good. That's my like prime space. But my second choice of prime space is when I'm I called it the co-working space, but really it's the university library. That's my other place that I like deep focus on. And recently I bought a USB-C to DisplayPort adapter, and I've been hijacking the monitors off the school computers.
Nice.
That's great.
That's I've used my iPad as that. I use this app called Duet Display for Windows. And I think Sidecar and Macs automatically have it built in. So that way you can have your iPad for taking notes or whatever is what I did. And boom, I could pop it up and have a second display as well.
I almost bought a second monitor for that. I considered buying a second monitor.
But then I'd have to carry around my iPad, my laptop, and a second display.
Me, that's the other thing is that I have a very small backpack. I like having a very minimalist setup whenever I go to school.
Exactly. So you want just one device.
So in my case, it was easier for me to have just a USB-C dongle.
Yeah, that's true. That's
and then hijack the keyboard at school. And I also have a wireless mouse in my backpack, so I use the MX Master as my wireless mouse. And then and that's what I just do is that I hijack a monitor and I do work there.
Yeah, because that's the one thing about like developer lifestyles. You can do it literally anywhere.
So
you're not wrong.
Yeah, Ian, what's your I know that your work's a little different than mine because you have a lot more hardware interfacing, but same with Alex.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, I guess the greatest difference really between working in an office and working at home is at work in the office I can poke and prod and touch hardware and mess with these devices to make sure that certain things are working.
I would guess that most people would say at home they can't do that.
And at home, it's a little bit more difficult to do something like that. I mean, I feel like that would give too much away, but not really.
Just like make it as
most
general
of these
as possible.
hardware devices have an interface which can be connected to, allowing you to change all of the settings that like a front panel or some human human machine interface would allow you to change. So you can do most of it wirelessly or remotely from home or whatever, but there's like buttons and there are some features where it's just easier to see the thing in front of you to do. There are some workarounds, like you can use a Windows remote desktop or a Linux like VNC or whatever to look at whatever your thing sees or look at your front panel or whatever. But it's just easier to have it in front of you. There's less work and less running around back and forth to, get that to work cleanly.
Yeah, Alex, you're going to have some of the same things. I've also remember hearing you talk about some similar stuff to this too.
So this is really interesting. So about, I would say maybe 2 years ago, so I've been at ABC Corporation, Technology Limited, for
a Delaware corporation.
Yeah, right. Hey. So I've been at this company for probably about 4 years at this point, just on and off when I was a co-op student. And I can tell you 2 years ago, or let's just say pre-pandemic, I think is the easiest way to word it. They were not equipped at all for remote work in our department. So
I remember that.
My boss was able to work from home, like somewhat. And basically what that meant is that he could use a VPN, which was already hard to get access to somewhat perform his duties. But a lot of the stuff that he wanted to do in his daily work, he couldn't do. So it's been such a stark contrast then post March 2020 that we actually, for the first time ever this semester, have had a co-op student who is entirely remotely working. So he's actually living in Georgia right now, and he's from overseas.
Is that going well or going poorly?
Well, it's going great. So I think the thing now is that just we have the infrastructure to support that kind of work. So he has his own laptop. They were able to give him everything he needed to work from home, and we actually have all of our like large machinery, like industrial size machinery that is accessible remotely through our VPN. So basically this student can remote desktop connection into the machine that's present or rather they're remoting into a computer attached to the machine and can get basically full control over the machine from home.
So sort of similar to what I was doing.
Sort of, right. So whereas my work doesn't necessarily have that same, I'm not really what I would consider a remote employee. They consider us like flexible employees. So for example, last week I was in the office 3 days out of the week. Now, specifically how my habits have changed, yes, 100%. It's different for me working from home than going to work full time. And the big difference there is that at home, I will wake up around 8, get a cup of coffee and go downstairs and just start going through emails. I'll do my budgeting, reporting, scheduling, planning, all the boring stuff. I'll do like the morning meetings and all that stuff at home in my pajamas, which is great for me because I'm getting more sleep. I don't feel rushed in the morning, and it has been...
man, just roll out of bed and you're good to go.
It has been amazing
Absolutely.
for my mental health. Yeah. I can tell you, I hated waking up at 5 or 6 in the morning to then rush to work, to then feel like I rushed to work to do nothing but shit around with my...
There's also the comfort aspect. I don't know about any of you, but it's totally just wake up, roll out of bed, throw on a pair of sweatpants, a nice sweatshirt, wrap up in a blanket at your chair, and just type away. So,
and every once in a while, my cat will visit me. It's wonderful. I mean, I feel comfortable at home. And I feel like I can complete all of my work duties. And I just had my performance review, so my boss agrees. So, I mean, I think that in general, it has been successful for our department and largely the whole company having that capability. That, flexible way of work is basically the future. And that's what they're saying is that, like, we realize that there are some people that need to be at work every day. And there are some people that don't need to come into work at all. And there are the people like us that some days will be working on a piece of equipment that we can take home. Like, for example, I'm working on a new control board that I can work on at home. I have the equipment I need at home. And if I need to go in the office, I can usually bring one box in with all the stuff that I need, and then I can just resume my work there. Other days, though, I have to work on the big industrial machines, and you can't ship those to your house. So you have to go into the office.
Well, you can't ship them to your house. It's just going to cost a whole lot of money.
Somebody actually did. So there's actually a guy who did ship one of the machines to his garage and worked on it in his garage for like a week. I don't know why.
That's awesome.
But I don't recommend that.
I mean, I would do that.
I would totally do that. I love that. That's awesome.
There were 2 machines we have that are less than 100 pounds. And the one is like, I don't know, 80 pounds, and I wasn't going to try to bring it home, but the other one's only like 30 pounds. And
Come on, man, just throw it on a dolly.
Was this one of those machines that was like carryable that they could put in the back of their car?
Yes. And one of the selling points even for customers is that it doesn't need like an air pressure hookup. It's just regular
it's one of the machines that has its own compressor in it?
No, it just has a blower, so it creates enough air in it to do everything they need. So a lot of the industrial machines, they're typically going to have a pneumatic system that needs like 70 or 80 pissies. You got to hook up to the industrial air compressor. And all this stuff was light and easy enough to use that you could just take it home. So I thought it was great being able to do my work at home. I was comfortable. I eat my lunch whenever I feel like it. I don't have to worry about packing a lunch in the morning. I mean, so much of my morning routine, I realize, is stuff like getting ready for work, my commute, stupid stuff, like making sure I'm all dressed to the nines to go sit in a desk and not talk to anybody all day. Like it's a
half-hour commute one way, right? If you work as that's still a whole hour per day. That's like a huge amount of time.
And not only that, but just getting ready for, like how he was saying, there's tons of time that you're actually spending for work,
like
that they're not paying
lunch.
Yeah, absolutely.
Kind
of
and I was all about
pack your lunch and whatever. Yeah, absolutely.
So for me, I think it has been nothing but beneficial having that flexibility. But I'm a little curious as to how that's going to play out moving forward. Like at this point, everyone has VPN access, and just about everyone in my department can work from home whenever they
giving
choose.
out VPN access when I worked as tech support.
It is a little complicated because we're starting to open up all the offices, but it's still like here and there. But basically, what they're doing now is Monday and Fridays are like, work from home. If you want, if you can, work from home, and if you're gonna be in the office, plan to do it Tuesday to Thursday, because those are the midweek madness kind of days when people can expect to have things like corporate or department meetings or like team meetings or things like that, tours of plants or whatever. If they want to do all of that in-person stuff, they plan to do it Tuesday to Thursday. But Monday and Friday, people typically are working from home, and it's honestly a ghost town, the office. It's very different, I guess.
I think it's a good thing to see, though. It shows that like the company trusts their employees to do the right thing and to do their work, and it's good. I don't know, because it shows that level of trust, and it shows that you have options here, and we'll work to accommodate you for whatever
Right. And that's good. I think the relationship is good. And more importantly, the numbers people are happy because all the earnings targets have been met or exceeded. So they know that clearly this is beneficial for the company and it's beneficial for the employees. So I'm happy with how it turned out. I think they are too.
Well, yeah. So I'm a little different because you guys all work for corporations while I work for, large corporations. While I work for I'm working the startup world. So like I work for a company that is all remote. Like we don't have an office. And according to my boss, he intends to keep it that way forever. He said he never wants to have an office. He says it is a waste.
Well, they are expensive.
And he said that, okay, yeah, maybe once in a great while, I'm going to have to fly out to headquarters, which is his apartment.
Yeah, there you go. Right.
So like, yeah, that's fine. And like, I don't know,
for a product that doesn't have physical product.
Yeah, especially then, that's the other thing. We don't have any physical products. We're a software company purely. So it's very different. I never have to touch hardware unless I'm like working on a server that I have, which even then I have my servers set up where I never have to touch them. I can just remote into them from my house or from wherever, and my phone is ringing and I can't have that. And I don't know. It's just...
I will say there is one element of being in the office when you need to be that's really, really nice. And that's that if you have like a little question, like if you're all in a collaboration area and like working on stuff and you have like a little question that needs to be answered, you don't need to schedule like a 30-minute meeting with someone just to get this one little question answered.
I mean, for me, that was shoot an email like a text and instant message off to whoever you need to ask a question to. But it's totally better to just walk over to someone's desk, be like, hey man, I got a question for you, this, that, and the other. And then like chat for a couple minutes or whatever, just to take your mind off things.
That's what I remember.
Sort of, wind down a little bit and then come back and reapproach that like problem issue that you were working on or whatever.
Yeah, so the interruptions at work is like a blessing and a curse.
It's a it's a blessing and a curse, right? Yeah. Some of the little interruptions are good because they can take your mind off something. Yes. Go talk with your coworker for a little bit, discuss what's going on, whatever. Maybe you can answer one of their questions, they can answer some of yours.
And sometimes it devolves into an issue that they really you really need to be talking about, but no one has brought up to the point. You know?
Yeah,
it's crazy.
Absolutely. Yeah, but then other times it just spirals into a blah, 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 long conversation. And you realize that,
There was definitely people when I worked in an office who were really guilty of that. And honestly, I was probably one of them occasionally.
Yeah.
I wasn't as bad as some of the other people we worked with. But I remember that when I worked for ABC Corp with Alex, it was pre-COVID. Like work from home wasn't even a question. Right. And when COVID started, I asked my boss and I'm like, dude, is there any way that I could get a job remote? And he goes, we're not equipped for that right now. Like, I'm sure we will be in 6 months, but as of today, we're not equipped at all.
Yeah. It was a weird transition that they quickly figured out, and I'm glad it worked out for the better.
Yeah. And I don't know.
Yeah, I suppose trying to go super fast like that could certainly impose some risks or difficulties, challenges, however you want to phrase that.
Especially if you're working like with big machinery that traditionally has been like, let's never connect this to the internet so we we're not exposed.
Yeah.
Well, and now we're saying,
connect that Windows 98 server to the internet.
Have you been sitting in on our meetings or something?
No, I mean, it's true with like all manufacturing facilities everywhere.
Absolutely.
Probably,
See, that's definitely one of the things we're capitalizing on, at least trying to start working on. I know a lot of people are. Basically, they call it the fifth industrial revolution or whatever it ends up being, having everything connected to the internet. So we'll just see how that goes. But for now, it's like, we're a little hesitant anyway. So that's ultimately what it is. So
IoT everything. Even your cup will tell you how much you drank today.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Your smart pipe in your toilet.
I need to monitor my caffeine intake.
Can I say that? I don't know. I know that there is a company that manufactures faucets and all that who is making like IoT, cloud-based, whatever.
It's Kohler. Things. Like we don't have to sugarcoat it.
No, you're wrong.
Is Mullen?
Delta is too. Actually,
all three of them are?
All of them are, yeah. I don't know how much I can say, but yeah.
But okay, so related to the whole developer lifestyle, what does your guys' work from home setup look like?
Company laptop in the middle. 144 hertz gaming panel on the side. My personal laptop on the other side with my headphones connected to that for music or background audio, podcast, whatever, and then just typing away on a keyboard.
So what is that your ideal work from home setup though, or is that just what you have?
Not really. I'd like a third or fourth monitor for work from home, to be totally
more
honest.
monitors.
More monitors is more better.
Although I do like having the personal device for audio, so I can just play whatever like music and stuff without like ever having to fear any judgment. Like, oh, he likes that type of music. But
and or it being on your laptop like at work, you know. Like
well, when I worked for ABC Corp, they
it's
didn't
just
care.
It's just sort of a privacy thing. You know me.
This is my ABC Corp laptop. It's the only good laptop I have.
Yeah, and like I had Spotify on my laptop when I worked for ABC. Like it was fine.
Yeah, I'm sure it would. I'm sure it's fine. I'm sure that they don't really care, but I'm still going to take those steps to just isolate personal from work life.
I'm still very wary of what I do on this laptop. I'll keep
definitely.
it at that.
That's sort of the line that I walk. I'd rather keep work and home separate. I don't want to, even if it's just music.
I know that they
I
have
wanna keep
access
that.
to everything I do on here.
Exactly. That's
And
the
so
thing.
that's why
So-
I act accordingly.
Yep,
They put a browser extension in all the browsers that
Oh my
literally
gosh.
says this extension has access to every website you visit and like all your data on websites. And it's under the guise of IT and support. And I'm just like, yeah, okay, I'm going to be careful anytime I look something up, even like slightly off color that like, maybe I
Yeah.
don't want them to know.
Yeah, not only that, it just gives them a reason where, let's say, I guess it's bad to say, I'll just say it as bluntly though, is that let's say that someone wanted you gone, for example, at the company. It gives them leverage to be like, this person shouldn't be here because X reason on laptop.
Well, office
it's
politics
trying
is
to
a thing.
minimize-
You don't
yeah.
have to like
Oh, yeah.
sugarcoat that.
Yeah, so it,
Sure.
it
When did you
minimizes
first
that
learn
risk.
HR is to protect the company, not the people, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know. Kyle, do you have a work laptop or do you just use your personal computers for your work?
Nope, I have a work laptop.
You have a work
on my
laptop, okay.
Yep, exactly.
So
And
you have a probably similar setup to Ian and Alex then do with the work computer.
I do, except I'm surprised with how often I will. I have like a desk in its own room. That's my office,
Very
and then I
important.
also have another desk in my room, and I have a table that's in the dining room, and I have a couple other tables and/or places in the house. And I'm surprised how often I will work in different areas.
So you like to move.
Yeah, I'll be mobile. I'll be super
I
mobile.
never moved.
Wow.
Like, not once. I don't know.
That's interesting.
Like also one thing I do that I
You
know
change
other
the scenery even if it's in your own house.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One thing I do that I know shocks people is one of the positions I work in is laying down.
Oh, I
that is
can't do
pretty
that. I
wild.
won't focus.
Yeah, no, I focus great. Like
That's
it's
good.
it's one of my most efficient.
I don't know.
Interesting.
I don't think I could do that, but I respect being able to do that.
If it works for you,
Yeah,
right?
if it works for you, then that's great.
But
yeah.
but there are cases where you're doing something and you're, let's say, programming, and these two scripts are talking to each other, and then you also need the API documentation for like 2 or 3 different APIs, and also visibility on like the database that you're working on. And when I'm like going in deep, that's when for sure I will use like my main office area because it has multiple monitors.
Right.
And then-
Yeah. I need those multiple monitors.
So you
But
do
also
so you
the
do
lap-
multiple in your office, you have multiple monitors.
In fact, actually, so the way I have it is I have one 120 hertz 4K gaming gaming monitor, and then I actually have a Samsung TV, like a 60-inch
Nice.
Samsung TV, as my second monitor.
I know people who have used like massive Samsung televisions and like stuff as their, or just massive like 4K TVs as their
Yep, that's
main
what I use.
monitor. Yeah.
All right.
and then I can have. It's like
s-
having 4 monitors.
I could
Yeah.
never see it. It's like having 4 monitors, but good lord, it's so ridiculous and just.
Yes.
I mean, it looks ridiculous, yeah, but
It
it's
does look
super
ridiculous.
functional.
I believe you. No, I believe you.
So
But
Alex,
what's the refresh rate for game? No.
what's your work from home setup look like?
So my setup, I have actually, since I started working from home, I've moved my home office only once, but I've had 2 different setups, and typically they're always the same. And it's that having a nice, powerful laptop like this that has a very small display and an irritating keyboard and only 2 USB ports means that it's basically non-functional without the dock attached. Now, that being said, the dock is great because it supports up to 4 total video outputs, including the internal display. And of course, Ethernet and like a million other USB and audio. And there's so
Those
many other things
docks
you
are
can do.
expensive, man.
They
Another
are.
reason
It's
I
so
found
annoying.
out
I had to
USB-C is amazing.
spend so much on it.
Yeah, USB-C is great for that.
So
The problem is that like certain USB-C laptop docks are out of spec actually.
Yeah,
they're
yeah,
over
I
the
know
100
they
watt
are.
limit.
Yeah, but didn't
That's
ABC,
okay.
didn't ABC Corp buy you like the one that costs as much as your laptop that like
So,
guaranteed support?
Yes, they have the Dell Thunderbolt dock, and I don't know how much of that, like how specifically that tells you the hardware, but it's about $240. So it's just for the dock. But what
I bought
then
that dock
does-
myself. It's
Yes.
super sad.
So my dad's old company was
Cost-wise.
throwing one away, and he gave me another one, and then they ended up. IT wouldn't buy me another one for work.
Oh, man.
But my boss would with the company card. So now I think I have access to about 3 or 4 different
Oh my
docks.
God.
That if I go into work in the lab area with like all the equipment and the tools, I have a dock there. I have one at my desk, my cubicle. I have one at home, and then I have a spare.
That is goals right
And
there.
it's great, but see, that's the thing now is like working with just my laptop here and trying to
Oh,
do
it
anything is like
sucks.
impossible. I
Yeah.
can't do it. So
Yeah.
anyway, so completely opposite to you, my work from home setup is like static. I am always at my desk with my dock attached, I have 2 extra monitors, so I always have 3 displays.
Lucky bastard.
I have my keyboard and mouse, and then I have an audio amplifier with 5.1 surround sound that I managed to get.
Really need that for that high definition
for
Teams
a couple $100 bucks that I was able to get on Facebook Marketplace, and it's in great condition for like late 80s, early 90s.
Granted, at one point I was using like a Scarlett Solo with a friggin' AT2035 for Teams meetings or for instant messenger meetings or whatever. It's like, I hope my audio sounds good because I'm running it through like $300 of audio equipment.
Your morning meeting just sounds super sexy. Like,
hey, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the morning meeting. Please tell me, what are you doing?
A meeting setup.
Yeah, exactly. Oh my God. Yeah, so Kyle's gonna set up his meeting around with all that stuff
with the hi-fi.
Yeah, exactly.
So the audio is. It's pretty crucial, I would say.
Why is your audio so crucial? Because like I use just a pair of gaming headphones.
Oh, it's totally fine. Audio is not crucial, but I'm a huge audio nerd, so I want good audio, damn it.
I mean, I don't care about the quality, but when I'm like getting stuff done, when I'm in go mode, I'm not like plugged in with my headphones staring at the screen. I have my music like jamming, I'm blaring it in the basement because that's where my home office is. And then that means that I can go, work from the other desk where I have all of my technology because I need 2 desks. I have my whole computer desk and that's it.
That's because your products aren't software. Your products are hardware with software.
And then at the other desk, I have my like a desk lamp. I have my DC programmable power supply. I've got another power supply for whatever product I'm working on at the time. So some kind of control board. I need all those. Control board and periphery. So whatever other things I need to attach to debug the thing. I've got that oscilloscope. I've got my bucket of tools.
All from work.
Yes, and this is all work equipment. Now, don't get me wrong. I would be doing the same exact thing in the lab versus my cubicle, but now I have a desk at home, which is my cubicle, and another desk at home, which is my lab station. And that's basically it. Now, I mean, it's a crappy old 6-foot-long folding table with holes in it that I found in the garbage at one of the abandoned houses across the street.
I mean, hey, that's one way to do it cheap.
It was free, and it's sturdy enough, and it holds all of the crap that I have. So that's what my at-home setup looks like. So it's just
when
dingy old basement with all that stuff in it.
When I worked for ABC Corp, it was really nice being in the lab as my office because it was so nice to be able to just get up and walk over to another bench that had all of the equipment on it. Now, to be fair, the bench I worked at was big enough that I could have my laptop, my mechanical keyboard, and my mouse all sitting in the cubicle along with all my equipment. And it wasn't like unreasonable for me to work there.
So it's actually interesting that most of the like electrical and mechanical guys do most of their work from their cubes. And they'll have their equipment littering all of their desks and all their crap on like racks and shelving.
Hey, that sounds pretty familiar.
But then all the software guys or the guys who stay in the lab have 2 lab benches that are just reserved for them and then are always littered with all of their, their laptop, their periphery, all of their computer stuff, and then all of their equipment and everything. So all the electrical and mechanical guys almost always do their work from cubes, and then all the software guys are always in the lab.
It's funny if you think it's the other way around.
I sort of see it though, because like just having all the stuff that you need really close by, plus a lot of like electrical design is sort of on a computer or on a breadboard or whatever. So like, I don't know, sourcing parts, data sheets, whatever, running simulations on your Spice, whatever, and then building out your PCBs and So you sort of need a computer at least close by. So I see it in a cube.
And the other thing I guess about the lab is that it has the pneumatic access, so there's drops for air. But also, then you have the machines that are like the size of a kitchen table that can just be sitting right next to your computer and you can plug right in.
That's what I remember working on.
That's the most convenient thing. And that's again what you can't get at home. So that's one of the reasons.
But are you cozy while working on the machine?
I personally am not cozy in the lab. I'm more cozy at home. But all things considered, I'd rather be in the lab.
Could you like wrap yourself up in a blanket and get inside the machine?
So the lab always is like the air temperature is so wildly fluctuating that like I think around 4 they must turn off the heat and it starts to get frigid in the winter times. So you'll see like all the engineers just start putting on more layers, myself included. And Mike, I think we've talked about Mike before. He's almost always in a winter coat and a winter hat. Like 24/7 year round, always. Nice. And it always just looks like he just, came from like a like he was just snowboarding or something. He's just coming in the lab and people
does he have like a pair of ski goggles or something?
The image of Mike snowboarding is now in my head.
So it's not quite as cozy in there. I think I'm definitely more comfortable at home.
I've only worked at one place that I felt okay. And it still was really wild. Like I took a blanket to work with me actually, and I when it would get cold, I would put it on and luckily it was like more of a cubicle style. So there was a couple people around me that could ever really see me. So, and there wasn't a lot of traffic throughput also. So, but
so I think I probably
Did you ever get laughed at for the blanket or anything? Or not?
I'm sure I did, but I didn't hear it. So.
So I probably have the most unusual work from home setup out of all of you.
Yeah,
I bet you do.
And that is probably because I am a startup guy. So first of all, I know for a fact that all of your guys' workstations run Linux. Don't run Linux, they run Windows. I run Linux on my workstation.
Well, yeah, company laptop doesn't run Linux.
Well, I remember when I worked for ABC Corp, I was like, I need a Linux server. And they're like, okay, you can just run in a VM. And I'm like, no, I want to put Ubuntu on this machine. And they said, we don't do that here.
Yep. Because they can't put all their
That's
spyware
exactly
on
what
it.
the IT guy told me.
Yes.
We don't do that here. And I'm like,
Out of curiosity, what's wrong with putting in a VM?
the performance is
the
worse.
performance hit is massive.
Yeah, especially on VirtualBox, it's noticeable. And when I was compiling software that took 24 hours to compile.
And then do it in a VM.
Here's the thing. When I worked with Alex, I would start the compile right before lunch, and I wouldn't touch it again
code is compiling.
until after lunch the next day.
Yeah, well, for what it's worth, though, that was the one drawback of having the ability to do builds on your own machine, but then also having the build server that does those builds.
I did it on the server. As soon as I got that server, that's all I did the builds on because I had other shit to do.
Right.
And I didn't want to lock up my laptop for days at a time.
Yeah, I will say, though, when you're maxing out the CPU in your virtual machine, you might as well not be using your computer. And that's always a great excuse. My code is compiling to just not do anything. But yeah, that's
Kick
that's
back,
why we
relax, shake yourself a pina colada.
That's what I used to tell the HR guy all the time when he's like, aren't you supposed to be doing work? My code is compiling.
Yeah, that's always a good cop-out excuse. But
Yeah.
that's why we have the build service.
But anyway,
build agents.
Imagine
Linux.
being a hardware guy, just like, yeah, man, PCB's being compiled. Yeah. PCB manufacturing.
I'm waiting on the PCB to be shipped.
Yeah.
That's the equivalent in the hardware world. I remember there were weeks where I had to. My whole main job was making this PCB at one of the places I worked, and I designed it and I made my own and did as much as I could, and then I sent it in and I did a little bit more testing with a couple other things I had to do, but a majority of my time was waiting on that PCB, and I'm like, I can't take on more from others because these projects are so long that then when that PCB comes back, I won't have enough throughput to do both.
Right.
Yeah, but anyway, so I run Linux both on my laptop and on my desktop, which that's the other thing I'm unusual that I have two work PCs. I work on both of my computers. Now, my ideal work situation would be I just work on my laptop and I have a dock like Alex does.
Yes.
That would be my ideal working situation. But because of my awkward living situation, I don't have the space for that. So I just use my gaming desktop, but it's dual booted, so it boots into Linux. When I'm on Linux, I'm in work mode.
Yes.
Linux is my work OS. Specifically, I run Arch, by the way. And which by the way, also, when people ask me,
nod your head
I need to do work. What should I install? I tell them don't use Arch. I tell them to use Ubuntu or Debian or something more stable.
Yeah, I think that's good.
I agree
advice.
with that, yeah.
Yeah.
Stable.
However,
Stable, what's that?
I chose Arch because I preferred it and because I have the knowledge to maintain it. I am able to be just as
brain moment.
efficient with Ubuntu.
That's what you've convinced yourself of.
Yeah,
That is what I'm... Fair. But here's the thing. My boss, which I'll talk about this a little bit after I'm done talking about my work setup, but it's like, I guess workflow is something I want to talk about too. But like, so yeah, I have my workstation and I have my laptop. And usually when I do work, I'll do it on each machine natively since they're both running a very similar distro. They're not running the same, they're running similar ones. They're both Arch based, but my laptop runs Manjaro and my desktop runs Arch. Anyway, since they're both running Linux, I'll just do my work natively on it. And all the software we're designing is designed to run on Linux anyway. Like, we're not going to be running this on Windows. And while my boss is a Mac fanatic, he's an Apple fanboy.
At least you're Unix based, right?
Yeah, at least it's Unix based. He wants it to run on Mac as well. And I'm like, you can have fun configuring it. Even though he said that with the way I have it configured, it works on both, like with no problem.
All right.
Just the way I have it written. But yeah, I have both machines, and then occasionally when I want a change of scenery, when I don't want to sit at my workstation, which my workstation is way overkill for what I do, by the way, because I don't use the GPU. I do for games, not for work. I have a 20-thread processor. I have 32 gigs of RAM.
You need all that to compile code, obviously.
My compile times are so short.
Yeah.
You can't even get away by the time it takes you to.
I can't tell Steve my code is compiling because it's done.
Yeah, it's done by the time you get that phrase out of your mouth.
Yeah.
There you go.
Which is great because that means my turnaround time is way faster.
I'm so jealous. My work laptop is underpowered compared to all my other personal component.
I've got a friend who was assigned a work laptop that's so bad. It's got like a 4K screen, but it's so bad that the like specs can't even push the 4K screen. It lags like hell.
Man.
I feel really bad for him, but it is what it is.
So occasionally when I want to change the scenery, I will go to school to act as my co-working space since the library acts public access to anyone who wants to just walk in the door and is a student. So I'll go to school and I'll work at school. So what I've been doing recently is that I've been getting up at like 7 a.m., 7:30.
Good for you.
I've been driving my ass to Akron. I've been sitting down in the library and I've been doing my work until I have to go to class. I go to class, I get that stuff done. I get back from class and I go back to work and sit in the library and work for a couple more hours and I go home.
You're one of those like library flies now. You're just always sitting there.
Yeah, and when
well, they got the Starbucks right there for him, so you know.
Yeah, I can go get my caffeine addiction on because Starbucks is now open from 2 to 6 p.m.
Grab your Chick-fil-A and just start FaceTiming in the library.
The Chick-fil-A.
Yeah, I can go to the Union and get lunch if I didn't pack, which recently I've also been packing my lunch, which is also
Smart.
good.
I mean, it's economical.
Smart.
Yeah, well, I've been packing my lunch. I've been just packing like cold sandwiches and putting ice packs in an insulated lunchbox and calling it good enough.
In the future, would you ever consider carrying like a Oculus Quest VR device with you?
Oh my god!
And putting it on?
It's stupid.
That way,
no, I would never consider
Let
that.
him finish.
I don't care. I'd still never consider it.
I can't afford it, but I want to hear.
You can't afford $300.
Probably not.
I
can't afford the relationship with Meta.
That's true. I
Too
can't
taxing
afford
on my
that.
mental health.
Yeah, technically I should be, factually correct. It's not an Oculus Quest, it's a Meta Quest.
Oh,
now,
yeah,
right?
okay.
So,
Fuck
all right.
off.
Yeah.
Oculus doesn't exist anymore.
Off.
Okay, but what I was trying to say though is that they're developing software for the Oculus Quest that I think is really cool. And that's, they have the ability to where you can put on the VR headset and then it'll link to your desktop, and your desktop can be multiple monitors in front of you, and it has pass-through for your mouse and keyboard. And then you can have a X monitor setup where X is equal to whatever number you want it to be. It can be one monitor, it can be
resolution is
Is
so
this,
low.
Kyle, is this software available? Because I would consider trying it.
the software. The test software is available.
Is there a dev kit?
The problem that I see with this
Well, no.
is the
This
fact
is supposed to work with just any Quest, and I have a Quest 2.
And not only that, but also
problem-
any PC as well. Like you just
All
install
right.
the software on your PC. Sorry, I'm interrupting you.
the problem with this is the fact that the resolution is so low. You get you
No,
can have
it's
like
not.
four
It's 4K.
720p.
I think you're used to your Vive. The
480
Quest resolution is actually great.
It's 4K.
It's better, but yeah, inside of your periphery.
You can
But now
retext.
push your monitor out farther and scale it up. And I'm saying that it's probably a 720p monitor.
like with as large as the text is on my screen, if it was rendered in my Quest, I could read it for sure.
My eyes
That
are
feels like a stretch to me.
I
Well,
just
that's
can't
a-
believe we're already
have you
there.
tried
I'm still used to the Vive. You're right, but like even with the Index, sure. Like I think the Quest had similar resolution to the Index, or is it
Correct.
slightly higher?
They're the same.
They're the
except
same?
the Quest may be slightly higher, but the
Index is
Index has a
clearer.
higher
Higher refresh rate.
refresh rate.
So the Index, it was relatively difficult to, it was clear enough to read text on the Beat Saber menus. But this small, like this, I'm going to say no, that's going to be pixelated to hell.
So, Kyle, I would consider trying it, but I would not daily drive it. And the reason why is that I don't want to have to take off my damn headset when I need to pee.
You just have to put in a
turn on the
virtual
pass-through,
bathroom.
man.
But anyway, no. So
You can just go
that's
piss
what-
in the corner. It's
The thing is
fine.
that that's what people say about all new technology. People would say, I'm never going to like have to log off of my computer to go to work, Instead I'll just do what I'm doing with my notepad and my phone and me with my hands. That's good enough for me.
I don't see this whole personal computer thing catching on. It's a business venture.
Yep.
yeah. So, but then I also have a third workspace I like to use.
Oh.
So I
the
have
bathroom.
honestly, I consider doing it as a joke, but I never did it.
There's a meme actually on Reddit that like it's like a bunch of developers like on the toilet and then like they get the idea and then it's them going off the toilet to actually like implement it as like a real thing.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
what my third workspace is that I actually I pace a lot. I don't know if you guys have noticed this, but I pace a lot.
So you're going to like duct tape a computer to your chest and just pace around with
No, my
like
solution
cooking from
is
Nestle
I got
Classified,
a wood board and I put it across the treadmill.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, see, that's kind of
cool.
smart.
Yeah. So then I think, Kyle, you've mentioned you've done this before in the past.
Yeah,
No, it's
I
a
have.
walking desk.
Yeah, there you go.
I have a walking standing desk.
I have a wood like suction on the treadmill.
Alex, I remember someone we used to work with was obsessed with a standing desk.
Yes, I remember. Colby Jack. Yeah.
But he was obsessed with his standing desk. He's like, oh, it's healthier. You got to do this. And I'm like, but my desk is down there. Like,
It means you're allowed to eat nachos at your desk because you're standing, so it's healthy.
Yeah, in this case, you're actually walking too, though, so that's kind of cool.
Yeah, so I get steps in and I get to do work.
Obscure reference.
Burn a whole pile of
I
calories.
missed it.
Yeah.
Burn a bunch of calories because I'm sitting at a desk all day.
Yeah.
Honestly, walking's not like
bad.
it's pretty good as long as because I would.
Okay, sonny boy, I got to get my steps in today.
So I walk at 2.5 miles an hour just because it's as fast as I can walk while still comfortably typing.
That's
and
fair.
reading the screen. Which
about
means
concentration,
Which
though?
means that if I work for 2 hours, I've walked
It's
5
something that you
miles.
train,
What
but
kind of
you get used
step
to it.
rate is that?
I don't know. I
It's
have
like
long legs.
If you
it's
could
like a
just
normal
estimate.
walk. Yeah, it's a normal walk.
One
Some people like
step
fast
per
walker.
second.
1 step per hour.
Fast walking is like 3.5 miles an hour for reference.
Yeah, so
And this is 2
I
miles.
have a
Doesn't mean
long
anything to
gait
me.
because I'm
I don't know.
6'1".
Meters per second,
So
please.
2.5 miles per hour.
I guess my kind of pace is like
I would
400
rough.
now.
It is
typical-
roughly
Okay.
0.8 meters per second.
Yeah, I mean, a typical gait is what? We call it 1 meter per second-ish for long legs. Maybe a little less.
It's a little less because I prefer it a little slower. I go a little slower, but then I get more typing accuracy out of it.
I'll
So
do
I'd
the
rather have the typing
Oh, God,
accuracy.
what? So it's probably like, I don't know, half a step. Call it 3/4 of a step per minute or per second. Sorry.
Minute.
Yeah, 3/4 of a step per minute.
Right. Ka-ching. Right.
Yeah.
But
something
yeah,
like that.
but then I also I also started doing this new setup at my workstation where I found this program called Barrier. And the idea behind this program is that you share a keyboard and mouse. It's like a over-the-network KVM switch where you can share a keyboard and mouse between 2 computers in the same LAN.
Haven't these existed for
They
ages
have,
now?
but this one's free. Synergy is not free. This is
Wait,
a
Synergy still exists?
Synergy still exists,
Dude, I
and
used
it's
that
not
like 10 years
free.
ago on an old
Holy
Windows
cow.
7 laptop.
So I zoned out slightly. What is Synergy?
Synergy is a over the network KVM switch where you have the host computer.
What is a KVM for people to know?
You can switch
That's a good
between
idea.
computers and monitors and use the same keyboard and mouse.
Basically, you take one monitor, one keyboard, one mouse, and you connect a whole pile of computers to this one little
And you
black
have a
box,
button.
and you can click a button and cycle between the
But
computers.
this one is a network-based one, so the idea is that all you have to do is move your mouse to the next computer as if you were just moving it to the next monitor, and it will switch the inputs to that computer.
Oh, I different.
When I first did that 10 years ago-
Ran software did that.
Blew my mind.
So actually, when we worked at ABC Corp, I used a similar program on my server. My server was hooked up to one of my monitors, and my laptop was hooked up to the other monitor as well as its own display. So that's what I would end up doing a lot of times. But at home, I have my laptop sitting like here as my secondary monitor,
Which
where
is
I
to its
have
right.
like what?
Keep going.
Yeah,
I
I
said
have
which is to his right for audio listeners.
Yeah, to my right with like just the laptop itself, and then the laptop I used for either docs or like Discord or communications. Unless I'm doing a voice
Discord
call.
at work, huh?
yeah.
Well, no, that's my
Yeah.
next topic. Don't get me started on that yet.
Oh, boy.
Then I have my 1440p gaming monitor that I use as my primary. Which, by the way, for a gaming monitor, this thing has like some of the best color reproduction I've seen. So it looks beautiful. My code looks great, for once. But yeah, it looks fine. And because it's 1440p, I can stuff quite a lot of text and keep it readable. So I can have I can go into VS Code and have file, and then I can read all of it and not have a problem. Or usually what it ends up being is the bottom half is a terminal. I have my little file tree over here, and then I have 2 blocks of code is what I end up doing.
Yeah, I do that setup a lot.
But then I have the laptop separate, and if I need to text someone back, all you do is mouse over, type, mouse back over, and I can use my mechanical keyboard and my wireless mouse.
Which is hype. My one friend had it that
meters.
way between the computers. He could Control C and Control V as well.
Yeah, that works too. Yeah, you can also copy between the two.
Shared
so I can
board.
copy document. I can copy a line of a command from this documentation on my laptop and then paste it on my desktop.
Yeah, which is super cool.
It's almost you can do
really
the
nice.
similar stuff with an RDP connection, Windows RDP.
I could, but why would I do that if I can just use them both next to each other?
Fair enough.
And this is on Linux. And which also the cool thing about Barrier, it's cross-platform. It doesn't matter what platform. So if I had a MacBook in my Linux desktop, it would still work.
Can I do it on my phone?
That's the one thing it does work on.
And what's this called again?
It's called Barrier.
Barrier.
So what it is, when Synergy first started, it was an open source project that turned into a closed source project. What Barrier did is it took the original source code of the original build of Synergy and just kept it updated and kept it up to date with modern spec.
Got it.
That's cool.
So it is effectively an open source fork of Synergy.
I'll maybe have to look into it. I don't know. We'll see.
It is really nice. But yeah, my ideal work from home setup would be I have something either like an XPS 13 or 15. If I'm honest, I'm thinking about buying the 15. This is a little small.
Yeah,
I might get it.
I think the 15 is good.
You should buy the 15 so then I know if it's worth buying it.
I think it's worth
want a
buying
13 for cheap?
No. I want a laptop that's almost as good as my work laptop, maybe better.
You want a laptop that's better than your work laptop.
If I buy a 15 in like the next couple, I'm gonna wait till their refresh comes out. They're supposed to have a refresh over the summer. But I'll sell this to you for like $600.
I want a touch screen.
Because I have a friend actually who is really, he just graduated high school and is really looking for a laptop for college.
Ooh,
Yeah.
Kyle's touchscreen. That's what I like the most about his laptop.
Yeah, people totally underestimate touchscreens. I was
so
also,
useful.
I was on the same boat.
underestimate touchscreens.
I was on the same boat for
Went
sure.
out of my way to not buy the touchscreen model.
That's what
Yeah.
I'm saying, dude.
Yeah, I told myself, why would I need a touchscreen? It makes no sense. I don't even like fingerprints on my screen,
I'm
you
the only
know.
one who likes touchscreens, I guess.
But then I tried a touchscreen just by chance, and then when you're at like a hackathon or something, or just collaborating with someone else, just the ability of them to like scroll down or touch your screen, or like there's certain use cases where the fact that you have it just makes it so nice, and you just don't realize it.
I feel like it's a little situational, if I'm being honest.
It is situational.
They're nice. It's not a feature I would personally pay for.
Yeah, that was the thing.
don't think
If I
you're paying
wanted
that
the
much more, are
touchscreen
you?
on this laptop, not only did I have to pay an extra $100, I also had to upgrade to the 4K model, and 4K on a 13-inch screen is stupid.
Yeah.
But you can get like an inch away from it, and it still looks great.
I'm never gonna do this.
So
Chandler, come on, you got a program like that. You just got to bring the laptop
But anyway,
right here.
my ideal work from home setup, okay? I want a similarly spec'd laptop hooked up to the dock like Alex has.
Yeah, baby.
With two 1440p or 4K monitors, which don't need to be gaming monitors, because why?
Okay,
I'm
I'll be
gonna
honest. I don't know
writing code.
what depth of video they support. Everything I use at work is just
Well,
1080p.
this laptop can support up to 3 external 4K 60 hertz displays.
Okay,
why?
you know the stats on that then.
Yeah, so I only want 2 because this would be my tertiary display. This would act as my third display.
Yes, this
the
is
laptop
always my
itself.
tertiary, which is funny because even though it's got like the best resolution, I guess, if
It's
you could
so
say that.
small,
It's so
though.
small that it's worthless to me because the other monitors are huge compared to this, and it's all the way over here. When
I
have
want my
keyboard
20.
and mouse.
This
I
would
want
be my
24
Spotify
inch
display.
monitors.
Yeah,
I want my
dude.
24-inch monitors, man. Come on.
But anyway, so
Yeah.
then this would be like my third display for like Spotify and random crap.
Yeah.
And then I would have my 2 main displays, and then I would want like for my future home office, I want the most minimalist setup when it comes to I want wireless keyboard, wireless mouse, no wires whatsoever on my desk.
wireless charging pads, for the
Wireless
mouse
charging
and-
pad for that's maybe a little extreme, but I would want
You said no cables, man.
But yeah, no
You can't-
cables on my desk at all. And then I'd want this laptop hooked up to 10 gig networking because I plan on having a server closet with servers with extra storage, with extra power and everything else that I'm totally going to buy on the company credit card. You heard it first here, Steven. And
You are using it for work, so it makes
I'm going to
sense.
be using it for work. It's going to be our build servers and our testing servers, as well as one of our crypto nodes because we're a crypto company.
Boop, boop.
Wait, are you guys getting some sipping whiskey?
Yeah,
Can you
I needed a refill.
can you
and
get
we're-
me my water that's in the side of my bag? Also,
if
since
you're
we're doing a refill.
If you're an
listening,
audio
we're doing
listener.
we're doing a brief
No, it's Alex.
refill. That's mine. We're just supposed to be getting maybe mentally prepared to
getting
intentionally zap
electrocuted.
ourselves later. So it's better to do that inebriated.
either.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I want but that was another thing, which I guess
Thank you.
transitioning a little bit.
Wait, I have one more though.
Oh, one more. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. Yeah, I want to wait for Ian though, because I bet
we
he'll
pausing?
think it's. Yeah, sure.
Well,
Okay.
well, I'm gonna continue talking about like ideal work from home setups. But I don't know if it sounds ridiculous, but I want like a little server cluster for both work from home and for personal use.
What do you mean by server cluster? What are you running on this server?
So what I would want is I'd want like one server that would act as my build server. I want a storage server just to have because I like having archival stuff, and like a couple other minor servers for like random crap that we might need. I don't know what your opinion on that is. I don't know if that sounds ridiculous.
I think
or
that
what.
the act of having a super high power server at your home that you can like have a super lightweight laptop that can just, support the throughput and have it.
Well, I thought about doing a Linus Tech Tips and making my gaming PC a server rack mount, and then running a single cable to like my setup via
I think that'd
Thunderbolt.
be hype.
Okay, so this is totally
Just 'cause I've never seen it
unrelated,
before.
but this just reminded me. I was at, it must have been probably a holiday party for my dad's work at the time or something. I was in this very bougie, expensive house. And the first thing that I saw they were like, go play down in the basement. Of course, I was like younger. I don't know. Maybe it was 10 years ago or something. My dad was like, go play in the basement, go to the kids' table, whatever. They're all drinking their champagne or whatever. And they want all the kids to go in the basement and like watch a Disney Channel original movie or something. So I went down to the basement, and then the first thing that I noticed in this guy's basement was that he had an entire server rack. And I just thought,
that's what I want.
Oh, if I ever have a house, I want one of those.
No, that's what I want. I want to have a server closet.
So he had basically like a 24, 48 port switch. He had like his stereo system rack mounted. All of this stuff was like the central electric, not even electronic. It's like his whole network infrastructure. Everything was in this rack. And I just thought, oh man, if I had one of these, I could do dirty things with it.
I want Ethernet ran through my whole house.
Yes. Because like right now, the only thing I'm used to is when I first had a server, I might have already mentioned this before, this was my brother's broken Dell Inspiron 1545, which was like the garbage tier
budget
like 2 cores,
Dell laptop. 4 gigs of RAM.
Running Windows 7, and I got like HMail server was open source, Windows-based SMTP and POP3 server stuff. There was a thing called Z-Panel, which was like a knockoff C-Panel, which was a web interface so you could run on a Windows-based version of Apache. So you could basically, I had a full stack.
You had a LAMP server on a Windows laptop.
Well, yeah. So I had a full stack. Yeah, LAMP. What is LAMP? It stands for.
Well, not LAMP. It'd be WAMP
Apache.
because it would be
like
Windows
XAMPP.
Apache. Windows Apache MySQL PHP.
Boom.
Okay, there you go.
It'd
so that was
WAMP
exactly
server.
it because I had a SQL server in PHP, and that's why I started with PHP. All that stuff.
LAMP
It was
is
basically
Linux,
one.
Apache,
Yes.
MySQL Windows.
So that was it. So my first web server was he smashed the screen on it, and rather than replacing it, I just thought, oh, this thing has a VGA output on the side. So I had an old CRT compact monitor that I used as my server monitor for the longest time. Then finally, I was like, all right, this is ridiculous. I need a real server. So I finally upgraded it to an actual regular old ATX. I built a server. I had a cheap parts I got, like budget stuff or clearance stuff at Micro Center. And I finally built a Linux-based server. But yeah, I had a server for so long, and just having somewhere to FTP all my junk, or even just for the meme of it, having a mail server that I could send mail to, and I only ever got spam. It was so great. And then I take it for granted all the time. Like I'm connected to my server right now for no particular reason other than that, just like I usually am, because everything's there that I need. I can open it up on my phone. Like it's a central location for all my stuff. So when I saw this dude's rack mounted, like several $1,000 system at his basement, I was just like, oh, I need this.
Yeah, that's what I want. I want that. And I thought about doing the Linus Tech Tip style of having your personal computer, your main desktop gaming computer, in a desktop, in a rack, and then running all the cables to it, like to a different location.
It's sort of something that I plan to do as well. Yeah, I want to outsource. Yes. I want to outsource basically like a laptop. I want to get a thin and light laptop client. I want to build a nice beefy computer with, like a 5950X.
So insane specs.
Yeah, just ridiculous
no
specs.
Budget limit.
No budget limit. Just ridiculous. GTX 4000, like 4090 or some just retarded thing. A whole pile of terabytes worth of storage.
Yeah.
And just like, I don't know. Oh man, I need to use a laptop. Connect the laptop to the server, and now I have a laptop with a full desktop.
So you would do the remote thing where you would use like Steam Remote Play to play all your games and stuff like that. Because you're not like a really big hardcore gamer.
Some form of remote desktop, whatever it is. Yeah,
on
right.
Your Steam
I want
Deck
that
just streaming.
Oh, your Steam Deck. Yeah.
I want that power for like Premiere or Autodesk Inventor,
compiling
code, KiCad, whatever. Yeah, I want the ability to just have a shitload of power.
And you just zap it anywhere in the world to your laptop.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Now, I will say the only downside, if your internet connection goes out at home, or your power goes out. It sucks.
Rip.
It sucks when you host your own server, because usually if you're paying someone to do it, you're paying
you're
for
golden,
the consistency.
Yeah, right.
You get that 99.99% uptime, and I can't tell you how many times my IP changed for no reason, and I'm like, shit, all my DNS records are wrong. I gotta figure
I fixed that. Yeah. I actually got
you
around
got dynamic
DNS.
I
have a dynamic DNS.
Or did you get the static? I know somebody got the business internet or something.
So I didn't get the static. What I did instead was I set up a dynamic DNS.
Hey, fair enough.
Which then the dynamic DNS is used to all my other DNSs point to the dynamic DNS.
Oh, you know what? I just realized. So when I got my new Asus router that I spent way too much money on, they automatically have the dynamic DNS with their app. So if I open up the app on my phone, I can always connect to my router.
Hey, nice.
Yeah,
So I guess that solves my IP problems. We're set.
So that I didn't do that. I instead set up a dynamic DNS through Google, and then my Unraid server has a dynamic DNS container that updates it consistently.
Yes.
But yeah, that's how I do the dynamic DNS. But it's really nice that my which I'm not going to dox myself, but you could probably figure it out if you tried.
Come on.
If you tried really hard, you'd probably figure out what it is.
Yes,
but
my IP address is 127.0.0.1.
Oh, man, localhost. Man, I'm gonna DOS that. I'm gonna DDoS.
But yeah, so yeah, but I can update the dynamic DNS. But anyway, getting on to my next developer-related topic.
I had one more though still.
One more still.
Yeah, I didn't say it last time, and that's that because I wanted Ian to be here. And
Sorry,
that's that.
man.
It was I guess I realized I do have one other one, or I'll talk more about it. My laying down setup.
Oh yeah.
I'm curious.
The
I want to
weird
hear
one,
about
yes.
this.
Yeah,
the
Yeah,
weird
Let's go.
Let's
And
go.
it's totally, I do totally have a first world problem with it though, because like, so imagine you're laying on your back, like in bed,
On your back?
yeah, pillows,
the fuck?
pillows
Okay.
popping
Oh,
up
yeah.
like the back
Yep.
of my head or whatever, and then I'll like bend my knees so that way my laptop has a place to be on.
Yep, sure.
And as a result, the hinge, you'll bend it back slightly more than normal, so it's parallel with your eyes.
Yep.
And then you can type directly on it. But there are times where I'll get like uncomfortable with that position and or just like want to move, and so then I'll go directly, like more directly on my back, and then my knees will fold directly up, and my laptop will go on my stomach. So you know how you said that, or into a chest, and you know how you said that you'd never have your laptop like 4 or 5 inches from your face?
You will.
I do have that setup actually.
So
I feel
you're
like
the
that's gonna
one
be
person.
horrible for your eyes.
You're the one person
but
who wants
I'm
a
not an
13-inch
optometrist.
4K display.
Yeah.
You're the market.
He wants that 5K display at a 13-inch.
13-inch
Yeah.
But one of my first world problems with it though is sometimes like when it's on my legs basically,
Oh, do they get warm?
they're fine normally with because of the laptop I have, but
Yeah, I guess it's like a thin and light and not an old laptop from 2011.
correct, thankfully. But first world problem I know, but my hands and or arms will get tired of holding them up to type.
Oh my god.
You know? So I kind of want like some form of split keyboard so I can lay my hands down on
Dude,
my bed.
I was just
and
talking about a
type.
split keyboard. No, you're gonna have
Ridiculous. Like, built
have a
into my
split
bed.
keyboard with like an extra long cable in between, so you have like one on each side.
Yeah,
of you.
exactly. I'm just, like,
Extra
laying
long
down.
keyboard,
No,
bro.
no,
Come
no.
on, we're
And then
using
you- no, 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 no.
8266s, Bluetooth keyboards.
And then
to, like communicate
we
with
have
each
to
other.
ceiling mount a display.
What?
Yes,
no,
exactly.
No,
I actually-
no.
Either a ceiling mounted display,
Cable from the ceiling.
No.
or better yet, even a projector on the side of your bed. That's just pointed towards the ceiling.
Here's my ultimate hacker bed. Let's go. No, man. No.
Yes, absolutely.
So my next
I know it's
topic,
extra.
my next topic of discussion is something that I have ever since I've been in industry, I've had experience with.
Just real quick, can I bring up an interesting point? You said projector on the ceiling and like how corny that is. My roommate actually got a cheap like Wish.com projector for I think
Wish.com
$60,
projector?
and he used that from bed.
Does that work?
So you use
he
it as a
got-
gaming display, or what did he use it for?
He would watch like Netflix to go to
You are
sleep.
aware those are like 480p projectors.
Oh, I know. It was 720. It said it was 4K. It also said like, lots of stuff that wasn't true. But anyway, it worked okay. But yeah, that was his thing, was that he would have a projector that he could like watch like Netflix in bed and still have a decent resolution. It's not a ridiculous concept, so maybe consider it.
Yeah,
actually-
I was actually not saying it was a meme.
Haley has a nice like $300 projector, and we take it camping and we like play Mario Kart on it.
Oh, nice. I like
while we're
that.
camping.
That's awesome.
But yeah, so what
Anyway.
But it's just gonna be expensive.
So another thing I have a lot of experience with in the developer world is like communication and the different tools chains you guys use for communication.
Okay.
Now my current job, we actually use we use Discord
Oh.
and we use GitHub, and that's it. That's all we use for communication.
GitHub is your communication?
Yeah, GitHub is our communication. That's our issue. That's our
Oh,
issue,
like issue
tracker.
tracker. Okay,
That's
I see.
our forum. That's how we post company related topics. That's
one
all we
issue
do.
is I'm afraid of its throughput sometimes,
do you
either as in like there are certain times where I need to know something that's just a little teeny bit of information that would just be really helpful to know.
It takes like 3 days.
I mean, not even just that, but like it'll take a lot of messages to try to get to what I'm actually trying to ask, just because it's kind of like a niche thing, right? So let's say it's like, I want to know this best way to print this log statement using this logger inside of this node. Like it's just something super specific that I don't necessarily type out because I try to get it in like less words. That way I can get it quicker, hopefully. As a result, like all those would show up in these issues on GitHub.
But
So
that's
you'd
what.
need to,
But now I'm the opposite. I would
scroll.
rather have those and have the archive of it and be able. So there might be more information in there that someone needs to know later down the line.
Yeah,
And
but the problem is a lot of it is not good information.
That's true.
And
a lot of it isn't good information. We've also talked about starting our own using Gitbook and having like our own notes as well that we're going to have that is shared notes across everyone.
Yeah, that at least maybe might help it. It's just like if you go into something looking for information and it's just so full of garbage, you'll assume it's not helpful, and then you won't find the usefulness in it. Is my worry.
Yeah. So originally we used Slack. That was the thing we started out with, which is also what I used at ABC Corporation at the time. We used Slack there until we got bought out by bigger ABC Corporation, and now we don't use
ABCD
Dang,
Corporation.
I too worked for ABC Corporation. Oh man.
Yeah.
Everyone works for ABC Corporation. You just don't realize.
Yeah. So every America has one corp. It's the whole country. All right.
Yes.
So
Acme Corp.
but yeah, so
ABC,
we used Slack at the time at ABC Corp. From my understanding, you guys have switched entirely to Teams.
We are entirely on Teams now. Use Teams and Outlook, the Office 365 suite. Everything is Microsoft. They really
Teams is
got
built in Windows 11.
Microsoft.
Yeah, Microsoft.
Microsoft
has taken
bimbos.
over. We had paid for the premium version of Slack for like maybe a year or so.
I believe it was someone we worked with who was really pushing for that, and then he left the company.
And that was
correct?
specifically intra-departmental. So only our engineering groups used it, and primarily software. So we were basically paying, and I think when you get the enterprise license,
It's not that
like
much
per person.
It's $2 a person or something
Right.
like
It was
that.
reasonable. It was like the basic plus plan. Like it wasn't the premium, whatever the hell. But yeah, they shelled out the money for it, and then like once that expired, we had already started switching over to Teams because that's what everyone like IT related wanted. And then unfortunately, going from Slack to Teams, you just realize how awful Teams is.
Yeah, I have like certain bugs sometimes where my arrow keys won't work in my console.
Did you see my Snapchat? Are you on Snapchat?
I have Snapchat. I don't think I have your Snapchat
Okay,
though.
I need to add you on Snapchat. So I had actually been complaining about this. I swear, like one of my things that I do maybe once a week is I'll find some stupid, obscure Windows or Microsoft related bug.
Microsoft. I
And
love
then
that I've
because
pushed you for that.
As a software, I know, right? As a
Have any-
software
all right, I'll
engineer, I look at stupid shit like this and I'm just like, how is it that this is even possible?
Minimum viable product.
How am I? Yeah, there you go.
There's
How
the
am I
answer.
the one who found it? And then I can't report it to anyone. Nobody reads through it. You know, what am I going to go to the feedback hub in Windows? Get real. Get real.
Minimum
Nobody's going to
viable
read that.
product. Whatever that'll just barely work,
So
and they'll pay for it anyway.
I found
I don't
out
know.
sometimes whatever it is when I'm using like my series of navigation keys and
too.
shortcuts with controls
Yeah.
and shifts and whatever to move around, that sometimes the arrow keys just stop working in the text box. And then I can't move around. Like if I want to change a character, it doesn't work.
You have to use the mouse pad.
Yeah,
It'll work
so
if you use
I
the mouse
hated
pad.
that.
It's
So
so
stupid.
annoying,
And if
yeah.
you close out of Teams, you don't kill the process because it just runs in the background like
Yeah,
Skype.
you have to go through and kill process.
Classic case
and-
of what's
oh
the
my
X
God.
button do? Minimize? Oh, here's 2 minimize buttons for you. Stupid. So anyway.
Yeah.
Well, they so I understand why they do that because they assume the average user is
Yeah,
stupid
I
and is
know.
going
That is fair.
Give
that
me
a
a
lot of that
fourth
is-
button, then a task kill button.
Yeah, I want an actual close button. And I know it's
Yeah.
probably in the settings too. I'm bitching just because
No, I don't think that's
it's
true.
Windows Q and
but-
it will quit it. Like,
Really?
fully.
But anyway, that being said, like I find these obscure bugs all the time, and that was the most recent one that I complained about publicly, just to be like, how is it that the arrow keys just stop working? Like,
Yeah, it seems like it'd be a big bug, you know?
Right, it's a
like-
huge issue. Like that's so. But how many people
See,
even use the arrow keys? They're used to pecking at their touchpad or their mouse. Like
Yeah,
every
it's
other
if you're
Probably
trying to be
not
a
wrong about
keyboard
that.
I
efficient
use
warrior.
Teams
really
for school and I've
unfortunate.
never had any of these issues. To be fair, I use Teams as little as I can.
Yeah, exactly.
Lucky
You're
you.
using it
Actually-
so little.
I actually prefer to email my professors over using Teams.
No shit. I'm pretty sure everyone does.
Yeah.
I
But
don't.
anyway, no, but we
Emailing
use,
is terrible in my opinion.
but we use
Emailing is you're wrong.
We use
email
our
is like the new mail.
Email is great. I don't know
Email
what you're
is
talking
old.
about.
Discord.
I write texts in the same way I write emails. Just
Do you
hi
sign your
name,
texts?
comma, enter. I will occasionally add a thanks, comma, my
Every
name.
time I get a boomer text and they sign it, like don't get me wrong, I think it's so charming. It's like that's
I
lost in
send-
this generation.
I
But I'm
send
like,
boomer
Mike, I know your
texts.
name. It's on the text. You don't need to tell me. You don't need to sign it.
I mean, maybe it'll just be a thanks and not like signed with my name or whatever. But
Right.
yeah, sure. I send texts like I send emails.
At least when he also does that with his
at
chats
le-
and teams.
Yeah,
he signs
Mike
his
used
name.
to
I'm
do
like,
that
dude,
with
your
me
name
as
is
well.
right
At
here.
least when it matters, right? There are obviously times when it doesn't matter. And it's just
Sure.
like send off a random text to whoever, my friend, whatever. Just like, hey man, you here? Or, haha, you're an idiot or whatever. But no, if I'm like sending a message to a boss or someone or just like asking about job status or whatever, yeah, I'm definitely gonna, make it an email, just sent through a different medium.
But yeah, we don't like since all of our stuff is through GitHub and through Discord. I actually haven't noticed that much bugs with either.
I've never had an issue with Discord. That's what blew my mind about the amount of
Dude, even
Teams
Discord
bugs.
on Linux is great.
Well, I have issues with Discord, but that's because I run the Canary build.
I've had issues with Discord while we've been sitting here, actually. I don't know if you saw, I have it open on my laptop, and then it just started loading again for no reason. I couldn't see all
That would
all
be
this.
an internet connection issue anyway.
Well, Kyle,
If it's an internet connection issue, why does it take out my display?
Yeah, that's a good point.
I
Why
don't
would it
know
re-render?
why, but it does for some reason.
Like that's the same way when I'm on my phone. If I don't have a network connection, it'll just show old messages.
It
It
didn't
doesn't
show
like
old
reload
messages,
the
though.
display. It doesn't
No,
like
on
a
your on
just a gray
laptops
screen
or on
with the
desktop
Spring Discord
client,
logo.
it'll like if you lose connection, it'll wait a couple minutes or like a couple seconds or whatever, and then it'll jump back to the loading, trying to reconnect.
And
or
even
whatever
like
the
we were
screen.
talking about potentially using Discord as our primary forum for our application, and I told him I'm not a huge fan of that.
Really?
I would rather either use GitHub issues for our primary forum. Well, let me rephrase that. GitHub issues should be our primary way to diagnose problems because the software we're developing is going to be open source. So obviously we're going to have access to all of those fun GitHub tools.
That makes sense.
So I think it would make sense for us to use GitHub as our primary source of information from our community when it comes to bugs and comes to feature requests. However, I understand his sentiment with wanting all other communication on Discord because it is asynchronous yet instant.
Okay.
And that's the other thing. Steve is very into asynchronous communication. He likes to minimize meetings. He doesn't like talking on the phone if we can avoid it. Now that being said,
He's just antisocial.
he prefers to keep things asynchronous because we do have meetings occasionally and we do talk about very valuable things in those meetings and we don't regret having them.
That's fair.
But we don't like having weekly meetings.
You don't want to waste people's time.
If you do only asynchronous, though, there are things that are really rough.
Well, that's what I'm about to talk about.
I get it.
Urgent and important things should definitely.
And I
be
plan
dealt
on
with.
having a conversation with him about this tomorrow. So he will see this after I talk to him about it. Because of the current company structure is not.
Sorry, that made my brain hurt. What?
The current company structure is that it's Steve and his employees. That's it. There's no other structure. We don't have formal titles. I consider myself a software engineer, but that's it. And because it's such a small company, we don't really have a whole lot of structure built in, which is fine normally. But the problem is we've been having a communication issue where I'm sitting here twiddling my thumbs, not knowing what I'm supposed to do with this project. And I talk to him and say, hey, can we write down some issues on the GitHub so I know what I'm supposed to do? And he says, I'll do that tomorrow. And then he never does it. Or I need to know some information and like he was saying, asynchronous doesn't always work when I talk to someone and they don't respond and then I don't get the information I need.
Right.
Which I understand. We're a very casual company in the sense that one of the big things that Steve preaches to me is that he doesn't care if I work an hour a week or I work 40 hours a week as long as I get results.
Okay.
So he said he would rather have me sit down and code for 10 hours a week or less, but have some of the best code I've ever written out of those 10 hours than me to work 40 hours a week and get it done, but the code is hot garbage.
Doesn't that mean because he only has to pay you for 10 hours?
No, well, technically I'm on salary.
Oh, okay.
So it doesn't matter.
Okay, that's interesting though.
But I always say I work per hour because I'm part-time, even though realistically I'm part-time salary and I do get salary pay.
Interesting.
How does that exactly work?
It's complicated.
You just always get paid for a full-time week,
Well,
basically?
Part-time week, but yeah.
Got it.
What is your hourly load?
I'm at my hourly, like my weekly load.
Well, what is it on paper? What is it on your
on
check?
paper, on paper, it's 20 hours a week.
20 hours a week, okay.
On
But you'll
paper.
sometimes work, what, 60 hours a week? 40?
Well, that's usually what happens is I'll work 40 hours a week and I'll work no hours the next week.
Okay.
So I end up working 2 weeks, kind of like the thing we talked about the
so
last
like a staggered
episode,
sort
where
of
I would
thing.
work in the meetings so I could leave an hour early.
That is what they say in the industry, fudging your hours, which is frowned upon if you have a real payroll, but if you're working for a guy who tells you what to do and pays your check and it doesn't matter.
Dude,
then
even
it
he
works.
says he doesn't give a shit. Like, he straight up said.
Don't get me wrong. I fudge my hours all the time working for the research job because I got in trouble. I got yelled at because I worked like 43 hours in a week.
Oh my gosh.
And then I got that 3 hours of overtime pay for, pissant like amount of money to everyone else in the university. But they were so upset in the payroll office. They're like, you can't work this much. You're not supposed to work this much. And I was like, I just did what I was supposed to do. And then they made me go talk to the administrative assistant. And she was like, yeah, we just tell you to fudge your hours and then just put those 3 hours in the next week and then, work 3 hours less. And that's like exactly, I'm pretty sure it's illegal. It's what they tell you not to do. But I'm just like, does this matter this much?
On a
all these
salary employee, it doesn't
over
matter.
here? Well, I know, but I was hourly at the time, and that's why they cared. But I was like,
there's also different legal repercussions if you work more than 40 hours versus 40 hours.
So the issue with that was that my boss said that was what I was supposed to do, but then the people that paid me said no. And ultimately, I think in my contract it said that I wasn't, supposed to be working that many hours, so that's why they cared. But I understand why that works for you, and I think that's good to have that power.
There's also the thing though where like you need something, right? And let's say it's a direct stopper for you, and you send it, and it's asynchronous communication, and then they take 20 minutes to get back to you. Well, in that 20 minutes, you get to doing something else, and you see it 10 minutes after they sent it to you, and then it gets you like one step further, and then you need the same communication again, and so you send another message to them, but they're busy and they're doing something. So it's you're having these 20.
Yeah, you wonder how much time you're losing.
You're having these gaps between.
And basically, that's what I'm trying to say is that what is the best option for communication? Because I don't like having.
I think it's situational.
I like the idea of having a fully asynchronous job where there's no meetings, and as long as I get results, I get my paycheck at the end of the week. And
I like that one more,
while occasionally it doesn't work though, and the past few days, to be fair, the issue I've been working on is complicated to say the least, especially since I am effectively learning a new computer language while I'm trying to work on this issue at the same time.
Which tends to be normal for developers.
Yeah, so it becomes quite difficult very quickly that I have to both learn what the hell I'm doing and at the same time getting it done. So
it's kind of wild how in the development space you kind of learn concepts, and then depending on what job you apply for and do,
you're using different concepts.
And part of it is also because the three people who are working on this project actively is me, Steve, and what?
Just being on a team of 3 to me, that's such a wild concept.
That's a wild concept to you, being on a team of 3.
Is, yeah.
And
what team are you on?
I mean, I guess it depends on what you consider a team. Because technically, in my exact department, I have one other guy who has my role, and that's it. But we don't really work together. I would say overall in the company,
so you're a team of one,
is
kind of.
Well, sort of, I guess. But the guy
you don't pair program with
tells
anyone.
me what to do, and then the project I'm working on has maybe over a dozen people. So I guess it's just a different.
Well, mine's a team of 3 because there's only 3 of us in the company right now.
I guess that's ultimately what it is he has a team of 3 who does everything, whereas I have a team of 1 who does a small aspect of a
jack of all trades versus master of one.
Finish the phrase.
Finish the phrase. And we have to
often
be.
better than a master of one, though, right?
Yeah.
So sheepishly. Let's hear it. Come on. Better than a master of one.
Well, I'm close to the mic, so I think they heard it.
All right.
But anyway, so I'm very adamant with him that, hey, I understand that there's only 3 of us working on this, but that doesn't mean communication isn't important, is basically what I'm trying to tell him. Because I am very big. Thank you, ABC Corporation, for drilling this into my head.
Well, there you go.
That you need communication between your developers regardless of your team size, because it is important. Because when I'm sitting here twiddling my thumbs, not knowing what the hell I'm supposed to do, okay, this test failed. What am I supposed to do now? Because I do not know if this is supposed to fail, if this is what I'm supposed to be working on, or if this is just I don't know. I really don't. It frustrates me a lot, and I'm only going, and because it's such a small team, I have a larger pull than most people do in the corporate world. Sure. So I can sit down and I can form the company rule sets for communication and say, hey, this needs to be a standard. We need to do, even if we are asynchronous, we need to do this amount of issue tracking and this amount of communication every week. So that way our developers in the future can stay on track. Because as of today, there's only 3 of us, but in 6 months, there could be a dozen of us. There could be 30 of us, or there could be none of us. So,
that's fair.
Because this is a startup.
Volatility, yes.
Volatility. But that's the thing. If we end up growing exponentially like a lot of people in this industry think we will, then by the end of the year, I'll have a team of 50 to 70 people, and I'll be managing 10 of them.
In 6 months? How long have you been working for this startup, though, right?
3.
Yeah. Oh, only 3 months?
The company. This one. I've only been working on since January.
Yeah, it really is. He's got 900 of them.
I know it's like a hot meme that I have 40 startups.
9,000 this time, yeah, all right.
I don't have that many compared to some other people I've heard of. It's just compared to you guys, I have a lot.
Yeah.
Although Kyle's in the boat in one of them, so.
Well, there you go.
And this one.
Yeah.
Does this count as a venture?
I would count this as a venture.
I count this as a business venture. Kyle's already spent way too much money. on this.
Kyle, you need to just register as an LLC so you can write all this off on your taxes.
It's only worth it if we have income though, and we don't.
Yeah. Well, hey, maybe eventually we'll have income.
You worry about the finances when you get
buy
a
our
PS4
PS4 boards, Tindy Shop now.
All right, there you go. Everybody go to Tindy, check out the new
Casual Coders Tindy Shop, of which
your-
anything will eventually show up in 2 or 3 weeks because parts are.
No, it's already there. When are we uploading this? It's already there.
on Monday. Monday, dude.
That's fun.
Yeah,
Right.
but anyway, basically, what are your guys' standards for communication between your fellow developers? That's basically what I'm trying to say.
Just like blasted.
Is that your whole thing? That's a great question. And
No, I think that's a great question. I guess I'll start off. I didn't know if someone else wanted to take care of it. Well, you bring up an interesting point. So when we first started, or when I first started, I guess you were in it too, we were using 2 different primary messaging apps, and it was Slack. And at the time, I guess, maybe, I don't know if you had started working with Teams.
We had a few people use
ABC
Teams.
Okay.
But I was not one of those people because I only worked with the R&D guys.
Sure. So basically, we were at that kind of like transitory period when it was like, all right, well, we're using a new system, but keep using the old system, but like start using the new one. And it was a little awkward, but we as a smaller team, like specifically the software team, and that basically means anyone who works on the firmware and like a little bit of the electrical and a little bit of the mechanical, like all of the general engineering people used this chat. But
I know the co-ops.
But the software team, which again, for us at the time, it might have been a dozen people tops, really used it for everything. So, I mean, our bi-weekly meetings, we had all of our information in here. Anytime I had a question, I would ask it through Slack, and I could just ping my boss and be like, hey, what do you need me to work on? Hey, I have a question about this, whatever. And it was basically secondary to in-person communication because, of course, we were all still expected to be in the office. So I would say, I guess, from my experience, since we got rid of Slack and moved to Teams, I still hold them about the same in regards to like how important they are, and I would both consider them secondary to in-person contact. If I have a question about a project or like a specific question about architecture or like a programming question or whatever, obviously I'll first try to find out myself. Like that's number one thing is like do online research, spend time working on it. And
Google.
If I get stuck, right. If I get stuck, then that's like, well, don't keep spinning your wheels.
DuckDuckGo.
Don't waste your time.
Bing. Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah. Let me bing it. Don't waste your time if you come up short and you can't find an answer. You go to somebody who knows the architecture. You go to the expert. You go to somebody who's been there longer, and you say, "Hey, listen, I have a question." And that's what I do. So I will say at first, if I have a problem that I need help with, it's a blocker for a project, and I need some input, I will go to a coworker. And if I'm in person, I will immediately like talk to them. I'll just go find them and ask them. Because especially if it's something stupid, like if I just have a question about like an inventory item and I don't want to waste somebody's time sending an email or waste my own time sending an email or a message, I'll just go find him and be like, hey, is this something that I should even bother you about? Like, is this something you can answer for me? And then if I can, I'll take care of it right away in person. But if it's something like less important or that I don't care so much about, that's when Teams is going to come into it. So I'll be like, let me just send him a message, because I will find my boss is notorious. And I guess this is the case with everybody. If you have a question, everybody goes to him, right? He is the guru. He knows everything. He's the guy who'll tell you what line of code your specific answer.
Okay, that's crazy. Most guys don't do that.
You know what I'm saying?
So cool.
Everyone in the company. So he's been there for 16, 17 years. Everyone in the company, if they have a question about the machinery, if they have the question about the previous, like the legacy product line, if they have a question about like general management, whatever, they will go to Mike. And he usually has the answer. But of course, he also has a lot of responsibilities. So he hides from people.
He never had time.
He hides from people because he doesn't have time to answer questions all day.
He hid in the intern room with us.
Right. He was in the restricted area that was like access restricted so that people couldn't bother him outside of like our, close
our
circle.
Inner circle of
But
the R&D
anyway,
engineers.
I'm going on a bit of a tangent. Basically, I guess my point is, I will always be able to get my questions answered from Mike if I go see him in person. But if I ask him a question on Teams, I will sometimes have days go by where it will show he read the message and then he'll never respond. But then like 2-3 days later, maybe I'll bother him about it in a meeting or I'll bring it up again and then he'll be able to give me a full response. But that is one thing I've noticed is that Teams is not reliable. I mean, like you mentioned, asynchronous communication. Sometimes if I have a question about a project, it'll be 2 or 3 days until I get an answer.
And there are totally times where you could send a message and then send like a second message with like a question in the first and a question in the second. Oh, okay. And you'll only get the second answered. Yes. And the first one will just go totally unnoticed or unanswered or whatever. And you'll have to re-ask the first question later on.
I don't want to ask complicated questions in Teams for that reason, because like you always get, sometimes you get a partial answer or like, just a simple yes or no when you were looking for a more in-depth explanation. So Teams is always going to be my secondary choice. Internally in the company, I always prefer like face-to-face contact because, you can't really just dismiss somebody face-to-face unless you literally say, go away, I'm busy.
Get out, I'm busy. Yeah.
And people don't do that. So I guess for me,
I know some people who would, but yeah.
And that's, I guess, one of the reasons why I prefer, again, our like flexible way of work. If I have a question, maybe it's better for me to go into the office that day, ask the question and work on my issue at work because I can do that. Whereas if I were working from home, maybe I'll ask a question on Teams and not get a response all day. But sometimes I'll find something else to do, but I won't be able to answer that question.
Yeah. At work, though, have you ever been like in a meeting that is totally not really relevant to you?
Oh, absolutely. And especially the corporate meetings.
Yeah, definitely.
So I remember when I worked for ABC Corp being in a lot of meetings where I'm like, I don't need to be here.
Engineering department meetings and corporate meetings
are
notorious.
It was awesome to learn stuff at those meetings because they were always really cool, but there were definitely meetings that I had.
As we've already stated, I wasn't paying attention.
Chandler was always working on his work. He'd be like building and compiling code while everyone else was talking about stuff, but they never brought you up. So, I mean, it's not like you were
I didn't do anything that important that I needed. The only meetings I was a part of was the software stand-ups. We had it 2 times a week.
Sure. And those I think are great. So I'm definitely
those I did pay attention to.
I will say that a brief stand-up meeting once or twice a week is great to keep me on track.
Yeah.
It lets everybody know what you're working on. It lets you keep track of yourself. You have to report what you've done. So, I mean, it keeps you at least honest about your own work and what you're getting done. And it's not a waste of time. But I will say, those corporate department meetings with 100, 200, 300 people from North America, it's never useful. I don't know.
How often did you have any of those?
We had them a little bit.
Once a quarter.
Oh, we had those once a month.
So I'm glad, don't get me wrong, I'm kind of glad that we get to talk to the CEO of the company for a 15,000, 20,000 employee company. It's nice to have the CEO at least talk once every quarter. But I never say anything. I don't have any questions at those meetings. Basically, he's just saying, here's our numbers, and that's it. And it doesn't mean anything to me. Hey, you're getting paid
for an hour at that meeting.
Right. That's what I think. I'm like, shit, when I have to go bill my time, this is corporate department meeting. I don't have to worry about getting anything done for 90 minutes today.
I dislike the sentiment of my time is being wasted, but it's fine because I'm being paid for it.
Okay, so then would you done what I did and just bring your laptop to the meeting and get an extra hour of work done so you can go home early?
I'm curious. 100%.
That's what you would have done?
That, or if I'm at home, I'll literally cook breakfast or something.
That's what I do. I think it's great. Sure. I get a cup of coffee. Yeah, maybe I'll make some breakfast and I'll just listen in.
You'll just have your laptop in the kitchen?
I've done that for most of the meetings.
Oh, okay.
The other time we had 2 meetings at once.
But you're anchored at your desk.
You did 2 meetings at once?
If it's just a meeting, I'm not getting work done. So I'll take my laptop upstairs and start cooking breakfast.
Oh, so you are movable partially.
That's for example, right now I can use this laptop, but if I wanted to code, this is too small to, and I hate this keyboard, so I don't want to use the keyboard. I don't get anything done when my laptop's not in the setup. That doesn't mean I don't use my laptop when it's not in the setup. For example, when I have to interface with a machine in the plant, I have to take my laptop with me, which I hate. Because one, I only get 2 USB ports, which means USB to Ethernet and serial, and then now I don't have room for a flash drive. Anyway.
Dongle life.
Yeah.
I hate the dongle life.
I might as well bring the whole damn dock if I want to get anything
I hate
done.
the dongle life, but that's a topic for
So Kyle, what's it like at XYZ Corporation with your meetings and stuff?
XYZ Corp.
It's really weird because I've only really worked at XYZ Corporation when after the pandemic.
So you've only worked there during the pandemic.
Correct.
Interesting.
Yeah, well, me and Alex both have that experience working.
I've worked at
Alpha Beta Charlie. I don't know.
G HIJ Corporation.
Hotel India Juliet Corporation.
I've worked at other corporations for co-ops and stuff, but so traditionally I'm under the impression that when people worked in person, they would go into a conference room and all talk to each other.
Oh, yeah. Yes, that's how it was with me and Alex.
Yep. However, post-pandemic, even when I go into the office, everyone sits at their desks and teams each other because we're not allowed to.
Do they do that at your work?
Yes, isn't that so weird?
We did that as well. So it was so annoying because I could be sitting right next to somebody and then it's like, all right, we're in a boss in the cubicle. Quite literally. It's so I don't know. I get it because it's like company policy. Sorry, man, we're not allowed to have meetings. You can't be in the same room,
the meeting
whatever.
Like 2 people allowed in the room.
Right. Sorry, there could be other people in this meeting who are, remote or whatever, so it's got to be on Teams, but oh my.
So it's funny that you say that. Actually, just as a random tangent here, I had to interview somebody we were doing interviews last week.
Oh, you
I
actually
stayed at my desk. Yeah, I got to lead the interview. I thought that was so cool.
Oh, that's awesome.
They're moving me on up.
They're moving you up in the world.
I might get a co-op. Yes, I need an intern.
You need an intern.
So I got to head the meeting, and then I had Michael, who was sitting behind me, so I could literally hear him across the cube. He was in the meeting, and then Mike was the only other guy, and he is notorious for being at the office and being like, all right, I need to go find somewhere quiet to sit in so I can have this meeting. So he will always leave his desk, go find an empty conference room or something, and then sit in there to do his meetings. But then meanwhile, we're all just like shouting in the office, and I don't have any problems with echo or anything. But yeah, it's so weird to then see,
you hear Michael on the other.
So many people do that where they have Teams meetings from their desks, and then you can just tell see them. They're having a meeting because they're talking to their computer, and then you hear the echo on other people's laptops around the office.
It's really great with open back headphones.
Yeah. It's just weird, I guess. Yeah.
Have you ever had the person next to you have their mic on while you're talking, and then it disables you from being able to talk?
Yeah, because it echoes.
Have you had that issue before?
Me, yeah. I've never had it automatically disabled.
Yeah.
So there's this thing where if you take someone's audio and repeat it back to them, but delayed
stop?
by
maybe
400-ish milliseconds,
sure, yeah.
You'll wait for yourself to finish because you kind of correlate it with you saying it.
Speech jamming yourself?
So you end up
speech jamming is so
talking
nutty.
that. Yeah, it's crazy.
So are you saying it automatically mutes you?
No, it doesn't automatically. If 2 people are next to each other, most people mute themselves just because of this is an issue in general.
Right.
But if the person next to you doesn't mute yourself, and to other people, your mics pick it up kind of at the same time, so it doesn't really matter to anyone else. But to you just start
talking weird,
stupid.
See, when that happens, I've had that happen once
take off my
before.
headphones real quick.
No, I would mute my audio and finish talking, unmute my audio.
So that's what I was doing. I didn't even realize it. Now that you mentioned it, I didn't even notice that when and both of us are now whispering. That's what we do is we whisper at our desks.
Oh my gosh! Yeah.
So already it sounds like ASMR interview.
I'm just imagining ASMR whiskey with Mike.
But then as soon as I
ASMR whiskey with Mike.
As soon as I had a point where I didn't really have anything to say, now I just habitually mute myself when I'm not talking because I'm worried that you'll be able to hear chatter in the office in the background, and that just doesn't.
Today we have some knob creep.
You'll hear the fans in my cube. Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, our meeting structure has definitely changed.
But it's super hard for me because you're going to work to not get the benefits of going to work.
Right.
So it's I might as well be at home if this is how it's going to be, is my opinion a lot of times. Unless I can be face-to-face with someone, in which case
listen, man, they're paying you, so all that matters.
I disagree with that sentiment.
I prefer to do Teams meetings at home as opposed to Teams meetings at work.
You're going to work because they're not paying you. You're going to work and...
I would rather be fulfilled and be underpaid than paid and unfulfilled, and I'd rather be paid and fulfilled. That's my goal.
I'm glad right now I'm both.
I'd rather be slightly overpaid and slightly underfulfilled, if I'm being totally honest. I like money.
Money noises.
Money brings happiness.
Fucking Monopoly.
Some people are gonna say money can't buy happiness, but I sort of disagree.
But money can buy me a 3090. Damn it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, my dad has a sign over his bed that says, "Money can't buy happiness, but it can buy you a Corvette," and that's kind of the same thing.
Yeah, exactly. See, he gets it.
A gentle reminder that the full Bible quote is that the love of money is the root of all evil,
not money itself.
Most of the people who are saying things like that in a preachy way are the ones who are super rich. And don't want you to question their
money, SpongeBob, boy.
So I had a weird, I don't know.
Are we spiraling this off to a different topic?
This is related to work from home.
All right, yeah.
Okay, well, last one.
Wrap us up, Chandler.
Last one. I've taken the whole episode.
No.
Yeah, definitely.
Keep it up. Let's go.
So, I guess because the world is moving to work from home, it's going to be really common where you get a job and you never meet your coworkers or even your boss in person.
It's true.
Although
people at my work would disagree, they think that eventually we won't work from home anymore.
Well, yeah, but you also work for a very boomer corporation.
They're so
That's
wrong.
True.
That's what I think too. But I mean,
don't say anything, right? But they're wrong.
But the thing is that I I worked for this startup company for over a year, and I had never met any of my coworkers except for Kyle or in person.
But you've seen him on video, right?
Yeah, we have talked on video chat because especially during the pandemic, Steve was very into video. The second you get into a call with him, if he wasn't driving, you turn on your video.
If he wasn't driving,
which occasionally happened.
I mean, you can have pretty effective meetings sometimes if you're doing other things.
Well, that's the thing. Half the time
I can effectively drive when you're in a meeting, though. I guess.
Well, I said last one. Okay. But have you ever been in a meeting and you obviously hear like car noises and
I've been in classes where that's happened.
I'm a total hypocrite because I actually in our holiday party end of the year meeting, I wanted to make it home in time to be able to have a virtual drink with everybody.
A virtual drink
with
everyone?
So I joined the meeting because I was held up late at work. I joined the meeting in my car, and everybody waited until I got home so that I could make a drink and then celebrate with them.
Oh my God.
And I was actually really flattered they did that. But yeah, I could tell that they hated it because I don't know why, but my Bluetooth radio that was installed by an old woman I bought my car from, they were like, it sounds like you're in a tunnel. And I didn't think it was that bad. Like my windows weren't open or anything, but it was apparently bad enough they could tell on Teams.
That's hilarious.
So but yeah, anyway, that's going to become the new standard of like, you're never going to meet your coworkers in person. You're never going to meet your boss in person probably. I didn't meet Steven in person until 2 months ago.
I mean,
or over Christmas break was the first time I had met him in person when he was in town visiting his parents.
I didn't realize that. That's kind of funny.
What are your thoughts about that, though?
No,
like,
yeah,
do you have any?
I've done it for a long time.
Do you have any like?
I don't know. I don't consider it's a bad thing. I just think it's kind of unusual to think
weird.
that.
It's different.
It's very different. Because I like the other person I had who was my supervisor for the startup. I never met him in person. I never met Russell in person ever.
I guess
at all. And he was my boss for 6 months.
For what it's worth, I've never actually seen our co-op. So we've had him for 3 months almost, and I don't know what he looks like.
So he doesn't know what
he never turns his camera on, and I mean, I hear him in the meetings, but I don't know even what he looks like. I wouldn't be able to pick him out in a crowd
like
of
that
two
kind
people.
of thing. It's crazy to think about. Like weird. That's going to become the social norm, and I know a lot of people don't like that. I personally am kind of.
I have no opinion.
I have no opinion. I really don't care. I don't.
One thing that I guess bothers me a little bit is it kind of incentivizes you to do the minimum that other people find to be okay.
Well, don't people do that anyway, though?
You sort of
no. I tend not to personally.
Well, you might not.
You might not, but
yeah,
Kyle,
I don't
you're
want
goody
other people.
two shoes. So
well, I feel the same way. I think that
throwing shade.
Maybe there's an amount of accountability, but at the same time, and this is something I even thought about just being at work. I can't tell you how many times like that we would go to work and I'd be like, they're on time, and then go and get a cup of coffee and shit around and not really get anything done. And just because I was physically present, I don't think that meant I was productive necessarily.
Well, I remember when I used to work with you, the first half an hour was just dicking around on Tuesdays and Fridays because the software meeting was in a half hour. Why would I start any work?
We would get nothing done from 8 to 8:30, but then of course the meeting was 8:30 to 9, so we wouldn't get anything done in that. And then like starting 9, it was like, okay, well maybe now we'll get our work started, but that's the first hour of the day that we did nothing productive.
Yeah, that is.
I get it. I think it's sort of fine in some cases. It's employee morale, right? It makes you feel better and it helps with your mental state.
Right.
And
well, that was one of
maybe
my
you
favorite
do
parts
get
of
something
working there
done. You
was the
discuss something or whatever, and suddenly you have this idea that you wouldn't have otherwise had.
I think ultimately,
it's a trade-off, right?
Right.
You know, differences.
Yeah, but that's when you're in person. But when you're at home, you're incentivized to, like, you don't gain the ability of the morale.
No,
sure you do.
Sure. Well, I guess he's saying if you're at home and not talking to anyone,
You're
and
not
have your video on, and you're just expected to have a workload by the end.
Imagine
of the
working for a company
Yeah,
where you never
exactly.
even have a video chat or a voice chat with your boss.
Well, I guess that's what I'm saying.
That's a thing that will happen.
I would say the burden of keeping your ducks in a row and making sure as a manager that your employees are performing is by having those weekly check-ins. And if you're not doing that, you're just setting yourself up.
Well, I'm the one who usually initiates any like talk with Steven.
Well, there you go. I mean, like
I don't know.
that tells you that
which is technically backwards. He's my boss.
Right.
He sends me checks every 2 weeks.
that tells me he's not concerned about your performance. You're concerned about your performance, which is great. Like, it's good that you care, and somebody in the relationship cares, but that tells me that you could basically do fuck all for a week.
I think he would care if I didn't do anything. I think
but would he know if you didn't say anything? That's, I guess, what I'm saying.
I think he would. I think he would notice that I'm not doing anything because the way we have our things set up is that we have both of us are set up, so when we push to Git repos, it will show up on our GitHub feed. So the first thing I see when I load up GitHub, okay, Steven made this push to the repository. Julie made this push to the repository. And then I also get a feed of like other repos we're a part of.
It's just so hard though, because you can't necessarily tell how much like work that was, if that makes sense. You could make one push to the repo and not do anything, and then
Yeah, I
they could be
suppose
like, yeah.
one commit could be a line change, and a second commit could be 1,000.
Well, I usually,
lines of
I don't know
code.
if
Yeah,
Steve
sure.
does it, but I like to investigate what other people did on the repos. So I clicked on one of Steve's commits, and it's 16,000 lines added.
Oh my God, no!
What the heck?
That is not atomic.
Well, it turns out he just kind of was forking another open source repo and just copy and pasted all of the code from the repo.
Copy
Well,
and
I'm
paste
sure he
code,
tested
practice.
everything well.
He did run all the unit tests at least, so I'll give
The
him that.
unit test that he also copied and pasted.
Correct. But anyway, so
Works
yeah,
on my machine.
But anyway, is any other closing topics related to work from home or anything else? you guys
I think
wanna
we're
discuss?
closing on work
It's
from
something
home.
I think we could talk about at length for days.
For
So
days.
We'll save it for
We
the
have-
next one.
We've got
one
a
last one. One
schedule.
last one.
Let's
Do-
end it.
good Lord.
Let's end
one
it,
last
Kyle.
one. Do you guys like it? Like, we talked a
Yes.
lot about it.
Yeah,
Do you
work
like
from
it?
Yeah,
home is
absolutely.
great.
I
It's
love the
super
options.
nice.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
I
it
love
gives
the
I also
options.
think
I think it'll be much better when I have a dedicated office in my house.
Yes.
It'll be much
That'll
much
probably
better.
be better for you. I'm
I
lucky.
agree.
I don't know. Whoever's in my house when I'm working from home is also working from home or is, cleaning or whatever.
To
So
Chandler's
it's not
point,
very interruptive for me.
I could never work from home without my own. Like I have a separate room in the house with all of my work stuff.
I would
and
like
don't
one
go
of those,
there,
but I don't
And I
unless I'm
don't
doing
have
my
that.
work.
I work in the same
would
room I
like
sleep
one,
in.
but I
I
don't have
effectively
that.
live in a studio.
I mean, it's in the cold
Yeah.
basement where the cat hangs out, but hey, it's something other than my room. Like I can't
Yeah.
be productive in the same room that I have fun in. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
because my
So-
gaming space and my sleeping space
Right.
and my working space is all the same room, and that's not.
I don't like
totally
that.
healthy
So-
or correct, but
overall,
you know what?
yes.
It is.
I like
what
it as an option
is,
still because you can
and-
still visit it and then have your own space
Yes.
too. That's I think the ideal.
Flexibility is very
Agreed.
powerful in my position.
All right, so in general, we're all like super.
Work from home is here to stay, boys.
You hope.
All right, well,
Yeah,
It is.
It
It is at
is.
ABC Corp. I won't speak
It is,
for
and,
anyone else.
and like the company I work for now is all remote, and probably any company I work for in the future will be remote anyway.
Once they
So-
realize
That's
they'll
a lot-
make
I
their
don't know.
metrics, they'll meet all their targets, they are not going to change it because it'll only decrease morale.
you guys should tell us
yeah,
if you guys work from home and or like it. In
or
the
want
comments.
in the
to, or
comments.
want to work from home.
Yeah.
Yeah, or if you're
should ring
not watching
that
us on a platform that has
bell.
comments,
Oh my
feel free
God, I
to
hate
check
it.
out one of our
Why?
YouTube channels.
All right. Well,
Anyways, we will talk to you guys later, and I hope you have a great day. Bye.